Another favorite of most people, the Viking Raiders, because they're fast, brutal, unpredictable. They didn't care about holding territory either, by the way. They would just, use their naval mobility, surprise. They were ferocious. No centralized. Their weakness was again no centralized command or empire building. They just took what they wanted. They struck their
This
coastal.
isn't exactly true.
No.
So what they did is they would form a siege around different kingdoms, and then in order to get them to leave, they would be bribed with silver or gold. But in the case of Danelaw and Normandy, that they wouldn't leave. Instead, they would accept land because they wanted to have arable land. So in the case of Danelaw, which was before that, York, for example, was actually inside of Danelaw. So a large portion of England was controlled by Vikings until, of course, the conquest of 1066 when William the Conqueror came.
Hey, welcome everyone. This is Gonzalo Herrero, your host of Geeked and Jacked, joined by the incredible, the good doctor, Dr. Todd Lee, MD, as well as the honorable, and I'm calling you the Reverend now, I don't know why, Larry, our fellow IFBB Pro, Larry Waters. So welcome, gentlemen. So let's get right into it. You guys are both deep in prep now, so tell me all about it.
Yeah, initially we were both, I think, targeting the same thing, the Masters up in Pittsburgh in 4 weeks, and then Todd was just
Masters World Championship.
Yeah, and then Todd was just saying he's made some shifts, and man, that's a busy schedule, dude. You're gonna feel like smashed ass by the time you get through all those.
Yeah.
Well, I've already been prepping for 19 weeks.
Yeah, yeah.
What's an extra 10?
Well, I guess that's true.
What's an extra 10? So like over half a year, is that right? If my math is right.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a tough one.
That's a long
Well,
stretch.
then there's also Tokyo, November 25th, and then there's Detroit Pro, February 21st.
Shit.
Well, if
Tokyo.
you're already in shape and you could have the freedom to do the travel, I say why not? I mean, shoot, go for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I mean, it's my job. I don't have anything else to do.
Yeah,
That's fair.
yeah.
So Tokyo, like as in Japan, fly the whole
Yeah,
nine
we'll
yards?
see. I was gonna squeeze another hair transplant in there in October 22nd. So if I can't recover from that for Tokyo, I won't do Tokyo.
Gotcha. I've always wondered, like when you travel internationally for a show like that, I immediately think water retention and planes and all that shit. But
I would
you
go
gotta figure
first
it out.
class, and then you can, with first class, when you go international like that, you can turn the seat into a bed. So I don't have to worry about my ankles. I'm not a bougie bitch. I just won't risk dying just to go to another country. So if I'm only going to fly first class if I'm going to be in a plane for more than 5 hours, so that I don't get the DVTs and then the pulmonary embolism that killed so many people in the 2021.
Yeah, for sure. Well, dang. So while we're talking about all this, I kind of spoiled the surprise for Todd, but I'm gonna do a show too. So joining the ranks at the white belt level, men's physique. So guys, get ready to be bombarded with questions because you know how it is.
So what made you make
So-
the decision to do that?
So my oldest son. I don't know if I've ever shared this with both of you guys, but so my oldest son has autism and Down syndrome, and he is a fitness fanatic. He's way more jacked than I am, in my opinion. And he has been fascinated ever since we started the podcast with you guys, as well as, Paul and all of the other awesome people that we've worked with in the podcast. So he asked, Dad, I want to do a show. I want to do it. I want to try it. I want to give it a go. So the way I see it, I'm going to do everything with him together. We're going to learn. We're going to share the experience. If I see that I'm not in good condition, though, I can always pull out and just let him do it, But I'm going to do the whole thing with him. I think that's the only way to do it, is to go all in and learn posing, learn how to prep, learn the best practices. You know, you guys know me. I when I dive into a topic, I dive into a topic. So let's see what happens, guys. Let's see. And on that note, since I'm 14 weeks out, I started like reducing calories. I'm at the heaviest I've been, at 206. I'm 5'8". Probably like 13% body fat, if I had to guess, somewhere in there. So now 14 weeks, I think, is plenty of time to start, you know, like that slow. And the formula simple: high test, mass, let's go. You know, that's very simple, very direct. You know, keep an eye out on bloods, put all the skills I've learned from you guys and put them all to work. And he, of course, even, you know, ethically, he's going to be all natural. He's going to do this all natural, with just diet and all that, because I'm not getting, that gets too complicated. And I don't think it would be ethical to do anything beyond, and, you know, anything enhanced without, you know, that's the kind of thing every person has to decide for themselves. I'm already TRT plus, so it doesn't make a difference. So
yeah,
there we go.
I'm happy for you. It'll be it'll either be a bonding experience or you'll kill each other. I don't think it's going to be in between.
It'll be a bonding experience, and he's sweet. He's the best. You know.
Hey Todd, I'm curious. So following a lot of your stuff, like I listened to everything you put up, and some of the stuff that you've talked about, your preference for different compounds, your preference pro and con, short versus long acting. And after having listened to a lot of your stuff, a lot of it flies against the conventional wisdom. And when I say conventional wisdom, I mean the bro science. But, you know, when you dig into
Right, no, I thought it was funny you chose the term conventional wisdom.
Yeah,
but
well, my preacher said there's conventional wisdom and there's sanctified common sense, and they're seldom the same thing. So my question, having said that, is, as you're getting into to the end, when people typically throw in some of the compounds that you're not crazy about, some of the short acting things, how is your management of compounds right now, if you don't mind me asking?
I figure if I'm the only one who doesn't have glasses on, I don't fit in.
I had my old man eyes last time.
You don't have to, though. You don't have to.
So what's funny is these glasses, I can't see with them. They're just so that I look more professional.
Gotcha. It's like Clark Kent. It's your Clark Kent look.
Yeah.
So you bump into shit. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah. So as you get closer, as far as anabolic agents go, how are you managing that? I'm curious.
Still long acting.
Okay. I've never been. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, near the very end, you'll put in Winstrol because it makes you look harder and drier.
Right.
That's about it as far as a short-acting drug goes. If your performance is dipping, you can use Anavar or Winstrol pre-training, depending how close you are. And then it's like, that's it. So I'm on 70 test, 150 Masteron, 30 EQ, 30 tren, 25 Anavar, and 25 Winstrol a day.
Now, are you on Mass Prop or Nanthate?
I only use long-acting.
Okay. So Nanthate, that's okay. I was confirming. And the reason I ask that is because you hear people will be like, oh, at however many weeks out, you got to drop the sip and put in the Prop. And I don't think so. Like, if you're ready, you're ready. I've always thought if you're ready, you're ready. And I remember a couple of years, and John Meadows did an interview several years before he passed away talking about how he's had to do various preps without certain compounds that you have to have because he couldn't get them, and he was just fine. And, you know, I don't see any point myself in pulling certain things because it doesn't impact how dry or whatever. So it's kind of justifying is not the right word, but I do feel like it's like it kind of backs up what I've always thought whenever I hear you say those things.
So this is the rationale, and most of the people who do it don't know why they're doing it. This is why people do what they do, even if they don't know this is why they do what they do. You take out the long-acting test and replace it with short-acting test 4 weeks out so that you can pull the short-acting test 3 days out, and there'll be no substrate for aromatase the enzyme. Okay. So there'll be nothing to aromatize. The reason why this doesn't make sense is people are also taking an AI like Arimidex And they're also taking a SARM like tamoxifen, thinking more is better. And it's just overkill. You could have done one of those three things. You don't need to do all three of them.
Right.
Furthermore, they take a bunch of DHT-based drugs, thinking that because they think DHT drugs are AIs, which not all of them are, because they can't tell the difference between something that is dry because it doesn't aromatase, or it's dry because it's something that is an anti-aromatase. Right. And in the case of EQ and Primo, they're aromatase inhibitors. In the case of Mastron, Anavar, and Winstrol, they are not aromatase inhibitors. However, Winstrol deactivates 21-hydroxylase, which prevents progesterone or pregnenolone, whichever, to converting to the glucocorticoids and the mineral corticoids. So your body won't hold any fucking water.
Right.
So that's why it makes sense to use that shortly before the show, because it'll dry you the fuck out. And the big drugs that really make the difference at the end are things like tren. And people take too much of it, and they take it like retardedly. They use tren ace. They take tren ace every other day. So they have 100 milligrams on Monday, and there's nothing left on Tuesday. Then they've got 100 milligrams on Wednesday, and there's nothing left on Thursday. And so they get these massive mood swings. If they were to just do it more intelligently, like using 40 or 50 tren and athate every day, they wouldn't have any mood swings.
Yep. No, agree 100%. I mean, you're saying all the stuff that I've always thought. And the only thing that I did differently last year, and it worked great for me, I had been following some of cement factory stuff and how the people talked about utilizing Winstrol further out, higher amount of Winstrol further out, and pulling injectables. I pulled all my injectables at 10 days out, and I have to look at my chart. 9 or 10 days out, I pulled all my injectables, and I ran 300 Winstrol a day all the way in, and I was the driest, and I used a little bit of Anadrol the last 3 days when I carb loaded, and I was the fullest and driest I've ever been, no diuretic.
I tried that very same thing, and it made me gain 10 pounds of water, and I looked like total shit in 2024.
Really? Yeah. Fuck.
I did. That's why I looked perfect before I took Cement Factory's protocol. And then once I used his protocol, it completely ruined my look.
I'm not sure what his entire protocol was. I just looked at...
After the fact, I saw it,
Yeah.
and it was so fucking retarded. And that Winstrol and Anadrol was such a tiny piece of the puzzle that it was like, well, there was no reason why I should have listened. The podcast was total horseshit because he gives a tiny piece of the advice. Him and Kurt have a conversation about 200 Winstrol a day and 50 Anadrol, right before you step on stage, you get carb loaded, and it just backfired so fucking hard. If I had done what I normally would have done, which is 50 Winstrol, it would have looked fine.
Yeah.
Because on Tuesday, I was 184. On Wednesday, I was 188. On Thursday, I was 191. And on Friday, the day of the show, I was 194.
No kidding.
I gained 10 pounds using the Winstrol. And
My-
I didn't
my
do
weight-
it the whole time. I went 100. I did 50 Winstrol, then the next day 100 Winstrol, the next day 150 Winstrol and 50 Anadrol, and then the last day was 200 Winstrol and 50 Anadrol. And every day it fucked me up harder.
That's so wild. I mean, it just there's another speaking point to there's no one size fits all because
I was gonna say like
my weight stayed.
this has to
level.
be like individual variance
Yeah.
to a huge degree.
And we don't. One of the things my coach figured out with me several years ago is I can't, because I'm so tall. I cannot. I've got to stay full-ish. So we never deplete me completely because I'll never fill back out. But my weight stayed pretty level even as I gradually increased the carbohydrates throughout the week. But then, of course, I kept my water at the same level on Thursday. I dropped it down to like 3/4 of a gallon on Friday and cut it out at 3 or 4 o'clock because prejudging was early Saturday morning. And I woke up dry as a bone. Yeah, that's wild. So you said he only talked about a piece of the puzzle. What did they leave out that they didn't discuss?
Let me see if I can find it.
While Todd's looking, so this is extremely now. Larry, I have a question for you. Actually, if I recall correctly, I know that you favor EQ, right? You enjoy EQ.
Yeah, in the off season, and then
It's one of the
I run
compounds.
it.
Oh,
I
in the
run it
off season
pretty-
only.
No,
That
no,
was my
no, I
question.
run it- no, not just in the off season.
Okay.
As far as for my mass builder or whatever, because I tried went straw and didn't get a lot out of it, and I'm not a big fan of Deca, and that just works for me particularly better, and I run that all the way through.
Okay.
Until I pull my injectables and just play with the levels.
See, it's such a long ester. That's why I had the question. Like,
Yeah, no,
because
it's-
you said you
it's-
pulled them a week or two out, maybe.
I think I pulled it as 9, 8 or 9, whatever the days was. Whatever day I pulled every injectable at the same day. I think I kept like 50 milligrams of tren in there for 1 or 2 more days, but that was it. By 7 days out, I wasn't touching the needle. And the other thing that I really liked about that for me personally was I didn't have to worry about any lumps, any bruises, anything like that. Because when you get down to that level, like when my body fat gets really low, if my dog jumps up, and I've got a 26-pound Boston Terrier, if he jumps up too aggressively, he'll bruise me. Yeah, he'll bruise me. So I know I want to be really careful with that kind of stuff toward the end.
Gotcha. Okay, that was. I always had that thought. And and by the way, the idea of pulling Tess before the show, is it because Tess holds water? Is that the?
It's because it converts to estrogen.
Yeah.
Oh, just the estrogen conversion you were talking about specifically.
Well, I
That's
mean,
it.
the monkey talk is to say it holds water, but what does the fuck does that mean? It means that
why does it hold water?
It holds water because it causes estrogen, and then estrogen holds water under the skin. Aldosterone also holds water, but it holds water everywhere equally. So if you have the aldosterone relatively high, but you have the estrogen low, you'll hold water in the muscle, but not under the skin, which is why people might try to use Anadrol.
Beautiful. Okay, that makes way more sense now. Damn,
And
we
I
dove
had
deep
always
in that.
I had always been really nervous about trying to use anything like Anadrol on a carbohydrate loaded, so I was very cautious with it. And it seemed like every little bit that I took, I improved and I got fuller. So, again, that's one of those things. For me, it worked. You know.
Yeah. I mean, again, individual variance and how we react. There's definitely things that are generally true, but the extent of how they apply to the individual, definitely that's where the
That's
magic
one of the
is.
first things that I learned in medical sales. You go in, and I don't care if you're selling my first drug I ever sold was an antibiotic called Levaquin, or if you're selling a proton pump inhibitor, or like now with glaucoma, just because the study says that the majority of patients experience XYZ does not, I mean, just by rule, you're going to have outliers. You're going to have people that have better than expected outcomes. You're going to have people that have worse than expected outcomes, higher than expected adverse events. And you'll have people that are just non-responders to certain compounds, and there's no rhyme or reason to that. And I'm sure, Todd, you've seen, maybe not within my realm of specialty, but overall, you've seen more of the literature than I have. So I'm not telling you anything you don't know.
Yep, for sure. By the way, thanks to you guys' influence, I'm also giving Red another look. So I started this week. Drop the TERS. Let's see how that goes. So far, of course, the appetite suppression is not quite as strong as tirzepatine, but otherwise, like the inflammation's great. No issues with heart rate increase. Nothing at all. Everything so far like flying colors. And I'm using the Omega Tide, Chase's version that has the Cagri inside it, the Cagrilintide or whatever it is.
Oh, I didn't know that he mixes the CAG with the Retta Chase.
Yeah,
he's got
so it's an interesting.
What's the ratio?
So 2.5 milligrams for 12.5 milligrams of Retta. So 2.5 Cagri, 12.5 of the Retta. In the
So it's a 5-to-1 ratio.
Yeah.
All right, because I use an 8-to-1 ratio.
8-to-1. So you go like, but
I use
but
2 milligrams of Retta and 0.25 of CAG. When I do 2 milligrams of Retta and 0.5 of CAG, it causes gastroparesis in me.
Gotcha. Also, do you struggle with appetite because you're more disciplined, I think, than I am?
Oh, I'm having extreme problems with appetite lately.
Really? Okay.
Like
Yeah.
having
Like
cravings
yesterday-
or having no appetite.
Yesterday I had, I basically had an extra 40 carbs.
Okay. Okay. Which at this level of prep is like significant.
I still lost 0.7 pounds.
Shit.
I threw it.
I was 182.3 this morning.
Jeez.
And Gonzalo, you know this. I threw the Retta in at, what was it, like 6.5 weeks out? It's been a little over 2 weeks. So I'm doing 0.5 milligram twice a week, and it absolutely. I make sure to take it either on Saturday night / Sunday morning or Wednesday night / Thursday morning, because Sunday and Thursday are my non-training days. So those are my lower food days, and it's still a struggle. Like I took it last night because Retta, you know, you're not supposed to have the same level of nausea or stomach, but it's still, if I take it in the morning, I'll feel some nausea during the day, so I take it at night so I sleep through the worst of it. And then today, if I don't watch I set my watch for every 2.5 hours to alert me. If I don't watch it, I'll forget to eat, because it absolutely, and I know that's not typical for most folks. Yeah, it tanks my appetite. But I have seen fat loss accelerate. So, but I got to be careful with it.
Well, we'll see. All right, guys. So, want to talk some nerdy stuff, or do you want to talk some more meathead stuff? It's whatever you guys.
No, more
dealer's
choice. Please. No more
All right,
bodybuilding shit.
All right, no more bodybuilding shit. Let's get your minds out of there and out of the constant contest prep and all that. So today, I have, as usual, I have a list, and the list is the top 20 deadliest warriors or warrior groups, I guess, in history. So the first few we can go quick, because I know that, you know, we got a few to go through, but I would love to hear your thoughts on these and how they're portrayed in media and what do you think? So here we go. Number 20, some people I've never heard of in my life, which are the Rajput warriors of India. Why they're deadly? They're apparently brave, they're chivalrous, they're not very efficient. Valor over victory sometimes got them wiped out. But they were elite swordsmen, heavy cavalry people, and they had unshakable honor. So go figure. It's like the Hindu version of, I guess, medieval knights. So that's interesting.
I've never, like, there are certain, I love history, and there are certain places in the world that I couldn't tell you heads or tail about history, and India's one of them. You know, unless we're talking about Dalzim on Street Fighter, I can't tell you anybody that ever came from India.
Bro, it's 5,000 years of history and like 30,000 different cultures that developed simultaneously in that area, that subcontinent. That's crazy.
Well, it's such a large area. When I lived up in Northern Virginia, there was a guy in my Bible study group, and he was Indian. And he talked about all of the different dialects that are spoken there. And he spoke something like 7 or 8 different dialects. And to someone on the outside looking in, it might sound like the difference between someone from Long Island and somebody from Mississippi. But he said they're completely different. So
they're like completely different structure, completely different. They've evolved completely differently. So that's kind of cool. Now, number 19.
There's 125 different languages in India.
That's
Good
crazy.
Lord. And
it's nuts.
And it's, slightly larger than Texas? Is that right?
No, India's bigger than Texas.
India's humongous. Yeah,
it's big. It's a subcontinent. So
just Mumbai has 20 million people.
Whew. Okay.
So it's not even the biggest city, and it's bigger than any 2 or 3 American cities put together.
They have the
just 2 million,
right, in the world. Is that right?
Yeah, it's 1.8 billion, and there's 2 million people living in one slum in Mumbai.
Man, that's got to be like that. I'm telling you, that's where they got the whole like Shadowrun Renraku archetype idea of this. Anyway, so moving on quickly, because we'll never make it through this list, guys. 19 is one that I know Todd is gonna love, because it's the Hashashin, the assassins from Mount Alamut.
Yeah.
And that is the historical basis of the vampire Assamite clan. So, Yep. And apparently their strengths, of course, they were stealth, precise assassins, psychological warfare. That's their deal. Their weakness is, of course, very small numbers, and they don't have any large-scale battlefield capability, at all. So apparently their founder was Hassan Isaba, and that dude, apparently his reputation was so fearsome that for hundreds of years after his passing, there was rumors that he was still alive, and they would use that, okay, to scare their enemies and to like freak people out for psychological warfare. So there you go. We learned
Yeah,
something.
that's
new.
another one. Wow, they were around a long time. It said it wasn't until the Mongols came along that someone finally took them out.
Yeah, yeah, basically. Before
Yeah.
somebody like went up into the eagle's eyrie, I guess, and took it out.
Eagle's
So,
nest.
yeah, the eagle's nest. There it is. All right, number 18. This one surprised me that they placed so high. I would have thought that they'd placed better. But apparently, when you compare to the rest of the world, and it's the Ninja, number 18. The stealth MVPs, limited battlefield presence because they're specialists, they're not generals. And, if you know anything about Iga province and Japan and that whole history there, a couple well-placed assassinations turned the tide of the whole history of Japan. So, like Hattori Hanzo, who was like one of those elite spies and assassins. We know all about the ninja. I don't know. We need to dive deeper. Thoughts here? I mean, I don't think there's anything that needs to be said.
I mean, I think there's so much about them that's not understood. I think a lot of folks' knowledge of them comes from, like, if you're a child of the '80s, like I am. There are all these movies that greatly kind of overplayed certain
Exaggerate.
things, but they underplayed things too.
Yeah.
But when it comes to deception and assassination, I mean, they definitely raised the game.
Yeah, I mean, I thought like in the 80s, one of the best uses of the lore of the ninja, and very loosely, was of course, and Larry, you know this, G.I. Joe, Snake Eyes and
Snake
Storm
Eyes and
Shadow.
Storm Shadow,
They're
yeah.
the archetypes, right?
Yeah.
For a whole generation of kids, and that was fun. And they did bring Larry Hama, I believe, was the writer.
Yeah, he was the writer.
In charge of that, if I recall. And
Yeah.
he was good. He was good about using
He
a lot of
was-
the historical sources.
He was good because ethnically he had Asian background. He understood a lot about different Asian cultures, but also he was military for years and years. I think he.
I did not know.
I think he. Can't remember if he fought in Korea or if he was in Vietnam, but he did have actual military experience, and that's why those early comics, they were so well written and so
They were
true
so
to
good.
life. Yeah, he really knew what he was writing about, and for the entirety of the G.I. Joe, I know we're getting a little off topic here, but for the entirety of that toy line from '82 up until today, every single file card that was written about a character, he wrote those. Like that's
Oh,
that's
wow.
every single one of them,
That's pretty cool.
and that's
Yeah,
hundreds and
I
hundreds and
remember.
hundreds of characters.
So I remember back in the day, I tried to write a role-playing game utilizing that information. Like we tried, but of course, it's hard to do because it's unconventional. It's an unconventional warfare kind of group, and it wasn't really done in a role-playing systemized way, right?
Yeah.
I did the same with Transformers. I tried to create a role-playing game
Thing
because they
about
also had
role
those
playing
stats.
is though everyone like with Transformers you can do a little more clearly because they had very clear speed, strength, firepower. They had very
Yes,
clear rankings.
they did.
But with G.I. Joe, whoever was the best, it depended on which toys that they needed to promote in the comics that month for the upcoming quarter. So
That's right.
There was no rhyme or
It's a
reason
little
there.
bit less practical than that for sure.
Exactly.
All right, coming in at hot at 17, another group that needs no introduction, the Green Berets. Why they're deadly? Because they're fucking lethal in asymmetric warfare. They're designed for influence and training, not large-scale destruction. People forget that not only are they effective as a unit, but they go and train people, which makes them even more lethal because they're projecting that force. They're force multipliers. So there is that. So biggest exemplar, apparently Colonel Aaron Bank, who was the founder of the Green Berets. Apparently he was the one who started the whole unconventional thing. And I mean, they've been around forever. John Wayne had a movie. I mean, come on. Rambo, I mean, to talk about the portrayal in First Blood, and the early Stallone movies. For those youngins who may be watching this, please do yourselves a favor and go watch the old Rambo First Blood movies. Do it because you should.
Yeah,
Because
I
you
think
just-
when you talk about especially within modern military warfare, any of those special forces, whether they're talking about Green Berets or SEALs, underwater demolitions, any of those folks, not only
Yeah.
do they have to be very physically able, they have to be tactically able, and the further we get along in time, the longer time goes on, the more tactical experience there is to draw from. You have to learn from. You have to learn for and against. I had a good friend when I lived in Virginia Beach, and he was a retired SEAL, and there was another guy in the same gym who was a retired Green Beret, and you just sit and listen to them talk about stories and tactics and this thing and that thing. I'm just
that must be amazing.
Oh, dude, I was like, you know what? If either of you guys are ever pissed off, I'm going the other direction, or I'm going to make sure you're not mad at me, and then I'll stick around and watch the carnage because
pop some popcorn and watch a show.
Yeah. But again, here's the other funny thing. You know, we look at all these movies like your Rambo and your this and your that, and we think, just because they're physically able, they're all going to be ripped and shredded and all that. They just look like regular dudes.
Yeah.
You know, and unless you happen to get into the conversation, they're not going to advertise who they are. So that's why they're so good at what they do. They're able to insert into just about any situation, and once you know who and what they are, by then it's too late.
I mean, form follows function. That's the other thing, you know. It's like they tend to be light, you know, agile, normal looking. You don't want to attract attention if you're into unconventional warfare. There you go. So speaking of that, the next group, and this is a group I'd never even heard of, but it makes perfect sense that they're on the list, and it's the Israeli commandos. Apparently, they're called the Sayeret Matkal. Mm-hmm. This is like, I guess, their version of the Green Berets, or perhaps their SEALs. Surgical strikes, small ops only. Counterterrorism, intelligence. Again, surgical strike capability, and they're not suited for prolonged conventional warfare. So again, the same thing. They're small tactical units. They are known for operations like Entebbe, and they blend intelligence, stealth, and precision into elite counterterrorism strikes. And they operate, of course, with their partners in Mossad. Yep. And if you guys have been watching the news, in the last couple of years, we've had a couple operations that are insane.
The beepers, man. The first thing that came to my mind was the beepers.
Dude,
man. Come on. Give me a break.
Yeah. Todd, are you familiar with the beeper story? Like, did you follow that? That is insane. And the latest one, during the Iran 12-day war, they actually went inside Iran, built drones inside behind enemy lines, and flew them and hit their targets with 99% precision.
Yeah. They're just
built in the field inside enemy territory. That's how good these guys are.
There's no question that the Mossad is the best spy network. Yeah. It's not a surprise, since you have 100% of the population join the military, that you have the best special forces, because you have the biggest pool to draw upon.
And when you're surrounded by people who want to kill you, you get really good at survival, or you die.
Exactly.
Those are your options.
But I think what Todd said, a lot of people don't think about. If you're an Israeli citizen, military service is compulsory. Like, you serve.
Yeah.
And so they get the best of the best of the best, because they get everyone.
Yeah. I've always been a proponent of that idea. Maybe it's the Latin in me, you know, but the idea of either serve in some way to your country. Maybe say you don't want to fight, you don't want to be a war. Not everyone is built for that. But then do some kind of civil service for a year, you know, just to... I don't know. I think that's one of those things that builds character and helps you learn more about others and build your country. But what do I know?
No, I agree with you.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Todd.
I don't know of any other country in the world that has that.
What, compulsory military service? I think Argentina did for a while, but of course that was during the military junta days. Yeah. So...
And I know that Austria did when Arnold was growing up, because his whole story about his first contest was he was doing his year of compulsory service and went AWOL to do the junior Mr. Europe. And he got back, and they thought he was gonna be in trouble until they found out he won, and they were like, "No, now you lift weights all day. That's your job."
So now you're prep.
So
now you're
that was the remainder of his military service. But yeah, if I have, and I don't have regrets in life, because I'm very happy where I am. I'm very blessed. I love my life. But if I could go back and do one thing different, I would have served. And my dad tried to get me to, because even coming out of high school, because I discovered bodybuilding in high school, and I love the regimentation, and I love the just having a set of tasks to do every day, waking up, knowing what that regimentation was. And he was like, "You'd thrive in the military."
Yeah.
And the only reason I never enlisted is because I was like, well, what if, they station me somewhere and I can't lift and train? That's what I cared about.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Well,
that
hey,
was
you got to go with your love, man.
Yeah, but
you
like
got
I
to go
said,
with
I
that.
mean, in the grand scheme of things, one, that wouldn't have happened. There's training and everywhere, and they feed the guys. Unless you're in a hot zone somewhere, and even then,
Yeah.
even then over in Afghanistan, I had friends that were over there, and they had makeshift gyms put together over there. But
Sure.
but if I had it to do over, I would have done that.
My cousin talked me out of it, actually, when I was 17. I took that ASVAB, did great. The recruiter wanted to put me inside a submarine to babysit a nuke, was what he
You
said
must have
I was a
scored
good
pretty
fit
high.
for. I did in the technical piece of it. So, but then by now my cousin, I should say, retired as a master chief of boat. So the highest, what is it, non-officer, in the
Nice.
boat. He served for like 35 plus years. And he told me all about like that. He's like, you would not do well inside this tube for 3 months without sunlight, brother. It's not for you. You're gonna be smelling farts. You're gonna be like on top of each other. There are no chicks anywhere near you. You
I
will
was gonna
hate
say,
it.
you're smelling farts and on top of each other. It sounds like backstage at a bodybuilding show.
Oh, is that how it is? Is that what I have to look forward to?
God.
Thanks, guys.
Protan and farts and burps and no room. So yeah, be ready for that. It'll be fun.
Oh boy, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Hey, Todd, if you want to show November 1st, Iron City Classic right here in Birmingham, Alabama. Just so you know. Anyway, so moving on. The next, number 15, real quick, Zulu Warriors. And yes, I know all about these guys. And these guys, I mean, the guys that shocked the British Army, there's a lot to be said about that. With freaking spears and shields and just good tactics. They were able to do it. So, shock and awe with minimal tech. Tactics overwhelmed modern rifles briefly. I mean, it wasn't forever. But speed, aggression, close combat formations, overwhelming numbers. I mean, their weakness, of course, was inferior weapons and weak long-term strategy. They didn't have a long-term strategy. They were pretty fierce and all that. But if you haven't seen Shaka Zulu or any of the movies or documentaries, I strongly recommend you watch them because it's amazing stuff. So yeah, Shaka Zulu himself being like the best proponent. All right, number 14. Some people I've never even freaking heard of. So maybe you guys are even more nerdy than I am and you've heard of these guys. They're called Byzantine cataphracts. Have you ever heard of these guys?
I have not. When are they from?
Heavily from Byzantium. So
Before
Byzantine Empire.
Constantinople.
Yeah.
Spell that
So,
second
is it
word.
the-
Byzantine what?
Byzantine Empire. Is that the
No,
Holy
I
Roman
know
Empire?
Byzantine
Todd?
Empire, but you
Is that
said the
right?
Byzantine what? What are they called again?
Cataphracts.
Cataphracts.
Cataphracts. Cataphracts. And they're apparently like super heavy armored juggernaut type
Yeah.
guys. So heavy cavalry combining melee and range combat in full armor. So I guess these were your stereotypical heavy cavalry knights. Their
Yeah,
charges could break enemy
Here
lines.
that they may have influenced the later European knights through their through contact with
Yeah.
the Eastern Roman Empire. Wow, how about
Yeah.
that? I never heard of those guys.
Yeah, General Belisarius famously used them during the Byzantine reconquest, showing their enduring battlefield power. Because back in the day, when you had heavy cavalry with armor, it was almost unstoppable.
Yeah.
So. All right, coming in at number 13, which is strangely appropriate for these guys, the Waffen SS, the Stormtroopers, the Nazi Stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Elite shock troops, wasted by ideology, basically. Mechanized infantry, high morale, blitzkrieg tactics were their strengths, and weaknesses, ideological rigidity, and strategic overreach. Trained in urban warfare and blitzkrieg, the Waffen SS were deadly in battle, but compromised by Nazi ideology. And figures like Michael Whitman, an infamous tank commander, exemplified their tactical skill and the darkness that came with it, because these guys were ruthless. For those who are not familiar with the story of the SS, they scared the regular German army and navy. These guys were terror troops.
Well,
These were the inspiration
Yeah.
for George Lucas and the Stormtroopers.
Yeah, and they were more than just being hampered by ideology, they were hampered by Hitler's overreach throughout the war.
Yeah.
When Hitler turned on Russia, it was over. It was just a matter of time at that point. And it didn't matter
Absolutely.
how many badasses you had. I mean, I think if I recall correctly, and you can correct me on this, I think there were like 800,000 or 900,000, ultimately that many members in the SS. But again, those were the elite of the elite. And at the end of the day, Hitler just, he shitty ideology aside, from a tactical standpoint, he wasted a lot of lives because of his hubris and his paranoia. And like I said, turning on the Russians, that was the beginning of the end.
Man, what was the name of that movie that had the Battle of Stalingrad and the snipers?
Enemy at the Gates.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
beat me
you.
to it.
Excellent movie.
Yeah.
Excellent movie. Tangentially touches on the SS, well, Germans in general, because I believe the sniper, the guy played by Ed Harris, was not SS, but he was a general or an officer of some sort, if I recall correctly. Great fucking movie. That was definitely one of my favorite, like,
That
urban
was,
warfare.
Jude Law, right? And
Jude Law,
Ralph
correct.
Fiennes
That's
was in
right.
that.
Playing Vasily Zaitsev.
Yeah, which is an insane story. Even fair, it's exaggerated for effect in the movie, but the story's still solid. The story's still amazing. Almost like what's the name of is it Finnish or Swedish? Simo Haya, who was the White Death. He was the other sniper that became very famous
I'm not
in World
sure.
War II. You guys should check that out. That guy was insane. For real. Number 12. These also were touched upon in Vampire the Masquerade, and it's the Janissaries. And the Janissaries, they were elite for centuries, corrupted by politics later. They had gunpowder infantry back in the day, which was unusual. They were very good at siege warfare, and their discipline was great, but political decay made them obsolete eventually because they were basically children that the Ottomans took and turned into their own soldiers. So their loyalty and discipline helped build the Ottoman Empire. And let's see. So their biggest person was a guy called Sokolu Mehmed Pasha, and he became the Grand Vizier, whatever that means. I'm guessing that's like the super.
So
duper guy.
they were basically conscripts who became a big part of the fighting force.
Right. And they were also used in that game that Todd and I like in Vampire the Masquerade. I believe there's some linkage there with Vlad Tepes back in the day.
Well, him and his brother Radu were taken by Mehmet the First
Yep.
as prisoner
Yep.
or as whatever hostages.
Mm-hmm.
And then where Vlad broke away, but Radu didn't.
Yeah. So how did that end up? I assume like Vlad
Ended
probably
up with a
took
bunch
out
of
Radu.
sultans getting their hats nailed to
Radu
their
murdered
skulls.
Vlad's wife.
Oh, did he? Oh shit.
And
Yeah, they were hardcore back
and
then.
then you had Vlad being basically what stood against the Ottoman Empire in that part of Eastern Europe, and the way it ended was with a bunch of Ottoman emissaries getting their turbans nailed to their heads because they wouldn't remove them for their religion. He said he never.
That's right.
I never want you to have to offend your gods, so I'm going to ensure that your hats are never removed. And he had them nailed to their skulls.
Whew. I mean,
You were talking about a
Vlad
bad
was-
dude. That was a bad dude.
yeah. No, that dude was. But I've always wanted. I mean, yeah, of course. Given our modern morality, of course, let's. Yeah. He was
Hey,
pretty-
look, if I had again, not to play on words,
Yeah.
if there were enemies at the gate, that's the guy I want. That's the guy I want defending me, because he's not
Yeah,
going to let it
for
go
sure.
down.
Yeah. I mean, anyone who can impale thousands of people in order to make a point.
He made a lot
Yeah,
of
that
points.
dude's pretty ruthless.
I think so.
That dude is very ruthless. All right, coming in hot, number 11. Another favorite of most people, the Viking Raiders, because they're fast, brutal, unpredictable. They didn't care about holding territory either, by the way. They would just, use their naval mobility, surprise. They were ferocious. Their weakness was, again, no centralized command or empire building. They just took what they wanted, They struck the
This
coastal-
isn't exactly true.
No?
So
okay.
what they did is they would form a siege around different kingdoms. And then in order to get them to leave, they would be bribed with silver or gold. But in the case of Danelaw and Normandy, that they wouldn't leave. Instead, they would accept land because they wanted to have arable land. So in the case of Danelaw, which was before that, York, for example, was actually inside of Danelaw. So a large portion of England was controlled by Vikings until, of course, the conquest of 1066 when William the Conqueror came. But William was a Norman, and Normandy in France was actually conquered by Rollo, who was a Viking. That's why it's called Normandy, is because it's of the Normans. So you had Normandy was completely controlled by Vikings, but they'd been there so long, they were considered French. And then most of the, not Wessex, Essex, or Suffolk, but Northumbria or Mercia was basically covered up by most of Danelaw. So they did care about country building. The entire British government today is the descendants of William the Conqueror. So, in fact, they're so good at empire building that they ran the British Empire, which controlled almost the whole planet, and is why everyone speaks English today, is because the Vikings do build empires.
Oh, look at that. I love this. I love this repost.
Well, and here's you.
For example, the city Dublin was founded by the Vikings. So all the redheads in Ireland are Vikings. They're not Celts. The Black Irish are the Celts. The Scots were a tribe of Vikings from Ireland that moved over to Scotland because the Picts had been wiped out.
Oh, shit. Bro, I'm married to a Viking. I just realized. You just made me realize that. Oh, shit.
Something else about William the Conqueror. He was only called William the Conqueror by history. In his time, he was known as William the Bastard. So there's
really?
Right.
Yeah, when there were banners when he would kind of hail William the Bastard.
Now, there's also Kievan Rus was a Swedish colony, which eventually became Kiev, and the country Russia were colonized by Swedes.
Oh, shit.
So,
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So the Norwegians tended to raid, but the Vikings tended to colonize.
Interesting. Okay. So it's definitely it was not an accurate portrayal here.
You also mentioned Indian people earlier. North Indian people have more Viking DNA than they have Punjabi DNA.
I did not know that either. But that makes sense. That they
Same
went
thing with
deep.
Yeah. So, for example, Iran is actually Aryan, if you were to spell it out correctly. The Aryan Empire comes from the term Iran. That was supposedly because northern Iran was basically Viking DNA also. That's why the Aryan race that Hitler's talking about was the original proto-race that ended up founding all the way to India and Iran.
So how does that relate to the Persians that are in Iran today? How does that work out? Like did they blend?
Some of them have green eyes.
Okay, so it's a blend. It's okay. Interesting. No, that's super cool. That makes perfect sense. All right, crack into the top 10. Now we get into the real badasses. Number 10, samurai. We know why they're deadly. They're lethal in single combat and small skirmishes. Kind of limited in large-scale warfare, but still, they were effective. Strengths, mastery of sword, bow, and horseback combat. Deep code of honor with Bushido. We know this. And weakness, the overemphasis on ritual and hierarchy could hinder their flexibility, right? They could not adapt quickly because of that more rigid structure.
One of the things about them,
elite,
they're one of those, like, when you look at where certain things that we think about in history intersect, like, you'll see these memes about, Queen Elizabeth was ruling in England at the same time that the Wild West was going on. You don't think about those things happening concurrently.
Yeah.
And we tend to think because the samurai were around for so long, a lot of people, and most people have seen the Tom Cruise movie, The Last Samurai, but you have to think that was post-American Civil War, and they were still a big part of Japanese culture in the 1870s until, that went down, and that's somewhat historically accurate until they weren't. So it's funny. That's one of those groups that in our brains we think of them existing at a certain time because of the way their environment looked, but they actually were around a whole lot later than a lot of people realize.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Absolutely, there was definitely some linkage there to like.
Which proves Gonzo's point that tradition is an albatross.
Absolutely.
It can be, absolutely.
can.
If it's rigid, if it's too rigid and non-adaptable, it won't evolve. And if you don't evolve, you die. That's just how it is.
Yep.
So, and of course, samurai representatives. There's thousands in legend. Miyamoto Musashi comes into.
That's the first
you
one
know,
I
of
think
course,
about.
like the big name. You know, because he was the undefeated swordsman, man. And the Book of Five Rings is a fucking amazing little piece of work.
Yep.
For those who haven't read it. So nerds that are watching, read the Book of Five Rings, for sure. All right, number 9, my home team, the Roman Legionnaires. Why they're deadly? Tactical monsters. Let's just face facts right here. They were tactical, they were road builders, they were empire makers, but their methods eventually, again, got outdated. They didn't evolve with the times. So even though they had great tactical discipline for mission combat engineering, because they were amazing. I mean, fuck, if you've ever read the history of Julius Caesar and how he sieged Vercingetorix in France, that's a fucking insane story. If you ever read anything about that, you know, how they would build bridges and go places and then destroy them so the enemy couldn't use all that kind of shit. I mean, the roads is what built that empire, you know, basically. So
They really
yeah,
are, and there are
they
a lot
were
of
the
Roman
backbone.
roads that still exist.
Yeah, I mean, you can go right now. If you go to Italy, Spain, and all that, you can see those aqueducts. They're still standing, and they still can carry water. So
It's amazing.
I don't
tells you
think that Rome didn't fall because the military didn't adapt. Rome fell because the barbarians sieged them, and individual Romans let the barbarians in.
corruption is what eventually took the
Corruption. Yeah, it wasn't a lack of. If they had put the legions up against barbarian hordes, it would have fucked them up.
empire. Oh
Yeah, and I
eventually.
think the other thing that played into it was they spread themselves out too far. The empire
Yes.
was
Right.
too
The
wide.
legions
and
weren't there.
Exactly. You go out to Hadrian's Wall. Well, you build the wall, and then you leave nothing there. And then on top of that, everyone they conquered became a Roman citizen. And I think, and if people who hear me say this want to get pissed off, that's fine. You can get glad in the same pants you get mad in. They watered down they watered down their abilities, because when you conquer a technologically inferior people, that learning curve, that ability to maintain is just
Right.
not going to be there. It's just not. It'd be
Yeah.
like if aliens came down here and gave us some technology that's 50,000 years ahead of us and then ran off and left. We're not going to maintain it.
Yeah,
But the workaround for this is they thought of that. That's why all of the soldiers were engineers. So
Right.
that when they were at downtime, they were supposed to be building roads, repairing things. That's why today we have the Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah.
Is that after
okay.
you
Based on
dominate
that.
over something, you rebuild it in your image. Now, one thing they also did is when you absorb, let's say, a bunch of Gauls, you don't make a legion of just Gauls. You distribute those Gauls amongst other legions that are full of Turks and Spaniards, and so that no one has any type of cultural identity except
Yeah.
the legion, so that their brothers become their only family because they're cut off from their original culture.
Right.
that's right. And then you become adapted. You become part of the machine.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, and of course the ultimate exemplar is arguably Julius Caesar, because even Augustus wasn't quite as he was close, but Julius Caesar was the guy. I mean, he turned the republic into an empire. That was him. He did that. So
I'm a bigger fan of Marcus Aurelius.
well,
My-
so
my-
as a
my,
philosopher, for sure,
my
sure.
my wife is writing a book right now on Stoics, and we were actually talking about Marcus Aurelius this morning while I was doing our meal prep. And if I told her, I said there are a handful of people, if I could go back in time and sit down and drink a beer,
Oh,
or in
man.
his case, drink a flagon of wine with, dude, that would be that would be way high on my list.
Oh yeah,
my
yeah.
list.
Marcus Aurelius would be amazing. There's
Todd,
a couple
whenever
of
she
people
finishes
like,
that book, I'll get you a digital copy. I think you'll dig it if you're an Aurelius fan.
All right, cool.
yeah, I'm big on the Stoics, my friends. I will say, like, as far as historical figures that I'd love to like sit down and chat with, Julius Caesar for me is there too. But strangely enough, because I'm a musician, maybe Mozart, just to pick that fucking brain, just to see what the hell he was thinking.
He was the world's first troll. He would totally troll you the entire time.
I know. He was supposed to be a dick, is what I heard. He was an absolute dick. And his sister supposedly was just as talented, and she just didn't develop because women didn't do that back then, apparently. Apparently his dad didn't think that it was worthwhile to cultivate her talent. How sad.
Wonder what we lost there.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? All right, number 8, real quick. I'm hurrying, Todd. I know you're hungry, bro. Number 8 is the Spetsnaz. So the Russia's elite special forces trained for sabotage, infiltration, psychological operations. We know the drill here. And they were represented by people like Alexander Peresvet, a legendary medieval precursor to modern Russian warrior spirit. So apparently, and we know, whenever I think of the Spetsnaz, I think of those ballistic fucking knives they developed, which are amazing, which I would love to get my hands on. But from what I understand, they're actually illegal to own in the United States for whatever reason, which surprises me, knowing how we're okay with just about every weapon on the planet, but okay. So Spetsnaz. Number 7, moving quick now. Gurkhas. The Gurkhas, man. Pound for pound nightmares. Small numbers, but legendary for their brutality and heart. I remember the Gurkhas because as a half Argentinian during the Falklands War, the British brought Gurkha troops to the Falklands, and you heard stories from the Argentinian troops that they were terrified of these guys.
Well, there's another group. There's another group from India. Like I said, I'm not thinking about India.
Yeah.
And there's 2 of our top 20 that are from
Yep.
there.
Yep. I mean, and they were like, I mean, their motto is better to die than to be a coward. I mean, when that's your mindset since you're a little kid, like that's what's drilled into you. Yeah, man, like that's some hardcore stuff.
That's right.
And of course, those kukri knives.
Knocking on Sparta's door. I'm sure we're going to get there.
Oh, we'll get there because number 6, getting close, are the Persian Immortals, which we know the deal. Scale intimidation, unit cohesion, always 10,000 strong. Back then, that was a huge number.
Huge force. Yeah.
And they were the elite infantry of the Achaemenid Empire. I hope I pronounced that right. But yeah, always 10,000 of those motherfuckers, and they projected invincibility and fought with spears, bows, and discipline across battlefields. So their deal was that they terrorized people. They were some of the first armies to use sheer terror to break the will of their enemies before they even engaged. And then when they engaged, they were really good at it. So
and there, if you look at now, the way that most people heard about these folks initially was through the Frank Miller graphic novel 300 and then the movie. That for most folks, that was the first time they heard of them. But again, this was one of those fighting forces in history that I knew about for a while. And if you look at images of those guys, everything about them was designed to make. If you just look at one of them, they're fearsome. If you got 10,000 of these dudes coming at you, they were designed to shit your pants and then fill you full of holes.
Yep.
So bad dudes.
Now, number 5. Now we're getting to the top 5. We're getting to the hardcore shit now. So number 5 is the English longbowmen as a unit. Why they're deadly? Because they destroyed knights like cheat codes.
Well, it was the technology. It was, if you go anywhere in the world in history, whoever's the most technologically advanced civilization, sheer numbers notwithstanding, is going to win. And at the time, the longbow was the height of battlefield technology. They mastered that. That's right. And if you don't have artillery, you got to get your hands on a man to kill him. And if they can kill you 100 yards away, you're
That's
SOL.
Right.
It ain't happening.
And their ball is they could pierce the knight's armor. It's not like you could just charge at them and absorb it and bounce it off. They will kill you, and it's a rain of arrows.
Yep.
I always remember. Was it? Braveheart. Braveheart has a great couple of scenes where you can see the effectiveness of that tactic. That rain of arrows. How you can decimate an army before you even engage, before you even get there. So number 4, some guys that I did not know about, maybe you guys did, the Polish winged hussars.
Oh, dude, do you not listen to Sabaton?
No,
There's
I
a
do not.
band, there's a metal band called Sabaton, some of the best workout music ever, and all of their music,
I'm writing this down.
all of their music, all of their songs are about fighting forces, battles, different things that actually happened in history. And they have a song called When the Winged Hussars Arrive. And it's about the very battle that I'm sure you're going to talk about.
Okay, all right. So yeah, I mean, elite Polish cavalry who wore wings to intimidate and confuse enemies, armed with lances and sabers, they led some of history's most decisive cavalry charges,
Yep.
and were nearly unstoppable in open battle. So they were badasses.
They were badasses. And that's another fighting force that people think are further back in time that they were. You go to the founding of the United States and as a country in 1776, they were disbanded just around that time. So they were.
Wasn't George Washington one of them?
I don't know if he was or not, but it would fit that if he wasn't one, that he had some type of influence, because he was from England, and they would have had that influence because it was one of the most fearsome fighting forces from like the 1500s all the way to the founding of the Americas. So they would have had influence everywhere. But
So there you go. I learned something new with this list.
It's a badass song by Sabaton, the Winged Hussars. Yep.
I got it already, so I'm gonna put it on the.
Just go to iTunes and look up Sabaton and just to go to their top songs.
Let it rip.
Start your workout, let it rip,
Yeah.
and thank me afterwards.
Okay, we'll do. I'll get back to you too.
Oh, they're awesome.
All right, number 3, the Spartan Hoplites. There they are.
There you go.
There's the Spartans, and we know why. They're the original elite infantry, psychologically unbreakable, raised from the age of 7 to do this shit, to just kill people.
And again, it goes back to, like I said, a lot of your successful forces in history come down to 3 things: numbers, technology, tactics. And they did the phalanx. And that phalanx maneuver, that helped mitigate in situations where they didn't have numerical superiority between their long spears and the phalanx. There weren't very many defenses for that. And as inaccurate as the movie 300 was, there were way more. There were 300 Spartans of his elite force, but there were way more people than that fighting the Persians.
Oh yeah. There were auxiliaries from all the other Greek nations also.
When you look at the geography of the Hot Gates where that battle took place, and you understand the phalanx, and you understand how they were raised, like the whole thing in the movie about when a child was born, they were inspected. If that child had a defect, they were left to die. I'm sorry, if you're not perfect, you don't even get a chance. And then when they were 6, 7 years old, they were taken away and taught to fight. And these kids fought and beat the shit out of each other for 8, 10, 12 years. And they had to kill a slave, sneak upon a slave and kill them without getting caught to graduate to manhood. And when you've got that, and you've got tactics, and that belief in, you talk about, I'd rather die than live a coward. No, I'm gonna die, or you're gonna die, and that's it. So I'm actually surprised they weren't higher.
Number 3 is pretty high. Now, number 2, United States Navy SEALs take the number 2. They take the silver.
Wait, who the fuck gets gold then? If the Navy SEALs are number 1, 2?
I'm curious.
It's debatable, but it's a solid pick.
What, Russian Alpha Group?
No. The Mongolian horse archers, the Mongolian army takes the
I think that's sheer numbers and viciousness.
Well, I mean, they conquered more territory in 25 years than Rome did in 400.
Right.
There's that, So we're talking, remember, deadliest, like kill millions of people. And that's what these guys did.
Okay.
So, speed, archery and horseback, psychological tactics, strategic genius. They could shoot with accuracy while riding at full gallop. We know all about that. And then, Genghis Khan did create an empire in like a generation using,
and
his army.
Kublai Khan took over all of China pretty much.
Basically.
I think most of it'd be interesting to know what Chinese people actually would have looked like in the 10th century.
Right.
Because all we know is what happened when the DNA was mingled with the Mongols.
That's right.
Would they look more like Vietnamese people?
Maybe.
I read somewhere that like as much as half or 0.75% of all the DNA in the world still has some of Genghis Khan DNA in it. because they killed the 400 million people they killed at the time was like something like 10% of the world's population that they killed.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be like killing what we got 8 billion today. So I mean, 800 million.
I mean,
people you'd have to kill to hit that number.
I mean, to put it in perspective,
10 times more effective than COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And 27 more times effective than the COVID vaccine. Aha.
Think about this: the Nazi Germany during the Holocaust, 6 million Jews dead, right? Mm-hmm. With modern technology and modern means, these guys, 400 million people exterminated in 25 years with horses and bows and arrows and swords. That is insane. That is an insane amount of violence. So that's why I guess they made the top of the list. And with that, we have our 20 deadliest warriors.
That's cool.
So,
some of those I'd never heard of. That was really interesting.
Yeah, man. It's an interesting topic for sure. Thoughts?
I gotta run, guys.
Go
all right, man.
Feel better.
Todd,
I'll see you guys later.
Have a good one.
All right,
do
talk
this
to you
again.
guys.
All right.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
All
right,
he was
out.
He was suffering there at the end, man. He was having.
He's
like,
deep in prep, man.
Well, I took my last clean for the day about 20 minutes before I got on here. So as soon as I get off here, I'm gonna be like. But I know that feeling. Like I get that at like about 3 in the afternoon, where I'm just kind of sitting in the car and I'm like.
Yeah.
And I'm to that point now when I get to like I had a lunch meeting with one of my big glaucoma doctors today, and trying to recruit him into a study that I'm doing on hyperemia. Well, my company's doing it, but they want us to recruit 5 to 7 of our top glaucoma doctors into studying hyperemia within their patients with a specific medication. Hyperemia is when you get blood vessel perfusion. And you get red eye.
In your eyes?
Yeah. See, the product I carry is called, I carry 3 products, but 2 of them, Rocklatan and Repressa, the primary differentiator in there is something called notarsidil. And what notarsidil is, it goes in and glaucoma is basically when the pressure in your eye gets too high. There's too much aqueous humor going in, not enough coming out. So the pressure gets too high, it can kill that optic nerve, lead to blindness. So you've got a traditional and non-traditional way the aqueous humor gets out of the eye. And there's something called latanoprost, which is the typical first-line glaucoma treatment. And that lets stuff go out through the typical exit. And then the non-typical is this meshwork called the trabecular meshwork. It's a fibrous meshwork that can get fibrotic and resistant to outflow. What Nutarstill does is it gets in, it relaxes that, and it has a vasodilatory effect, because below the trabecular meshwork is an exit called the Schlemm's canal. Think of it like unclogging a sink, and then the Schlemm's canal is the drain right there, and then it goes out through the aqueous and then the episcleral vein. And however much episcleral venous outflow you can get of aqueous humor, that ultimately determines how low you can get IOP. So it's an awesome drug, but because
how does it target just that area though? How does that work?
So when you read package inserts for a lot of medications, it will say mechanism of action is unknown. We know what it does. We don't know why or how. We know it relaxes that trabecular meshwork. We know it's vasodilatory. We don't know how or why, but we know it's.
We tested it. We know this is what
it dependably does that, right? And like I was talking about with patient variance with medication earlier, you might get, if a patient's been on other medications, you might get another 3 points in reduction. You might get another 6 points in reduction. But you're going to get reduction. But because it's vasodilatory, some people get, it looks like their eye's inflamed, but it's not an inflammation, it's vasodilation. And we call that hyperemia. So what we're doing a lot of times with glaucoma patients, and within ophthalmology, glaucoma patients are some of the least compliant patients when it comes to their treatment. Because glaucoma doesn't cause any pain. They don't think about it. By the time a patient's visual field starts to sink and they start to tunnel, then they panic. What can I do? You can't. Because glaucoma is a rock that's rolling down a hill. You cannot roll the rock back up the hill. You're not Sisyphus. You can't push the rock up the hill. All you can do is try to keep it from getting any worse. Glaucoma is incurable. All you can do is try to keep it from getting worse. And so with certain drugs like Nutarsadil, if a patient sees that hyperemia, they're going to think, oh, my eyes are red, I'm getting inflamed, they look like they've been smoking weed. I mean, I've seen some that they look red like something ruptured, but it's just the vascular perfusion. And if you can get the patient to understand this is not a bug, this is a feature. If you see this, it means the medication is working. And we can get them to stay on the medication for 30 to 60 days, their pressures are going to come down. But what will also happen is that hyperemia the severity will reduce. So with this study, what we're trying to do, wow, I said a lot to get back to this. With this study, what we're trying to do is get the patient experience. We're getting new patients to commit to the doctor. Yeah, I'm going to stay on this 30 to 60 days, watch what happens, see what their individual experiences are. And one of the reasons that Rocklatan and Repressor are such great drugs is because a lot of glaucoma drops, you have to take multiple drops multiple times per day. Rocklatan and Repressor are one drop once per day. So you've got the best chance of patient compliance with that. With Rocklatan,
because it's easy.
You've got a dual mechanism of action. You've got the typical and the atypical exit for your aqueous humor. So you give the patient the best chance for a good clinical outcome. And so I know when I have to go in and basically give this presentation to the doctor, and I'm just sitting there in the car and I'm like, because the first thing I got to do is get out of the car and walk across the parking lot, and that in itself. But yeah, so when I saw him over there taking the deep breaths, I was like, yep, he's just about done. He's about finished.
Yeah.
He's done.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll find out all about it.
Yeah.
So
It
maybe
is. And
maybe not
I'm-
quite as quite as severely.
It hits different people differently. And like I said with me, like right now, physically, I don't want to get up and run laps, but mentally and cognitively, I'm good right now. But there are other times of the day when I'm just like, I've got Monday brain on a Thursday afternoon, and don't ask me what 2 + 2 is unless I can get to more 4 of my fingers, because I need them all so I can count them.
Yeah,
So,
no, I gotcha. I gotcha.
But
Yeah,
man,
I mean,
he's going to be
great.
hurting doing all those. I was looking forward to him doing Pittsburgh because I was looking forward to getting to meet him and hang out and everything. But he would have been in my class in my division too. So there's one person I don't have to butt heads with, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
But if he's going to do like 3 or 4 shows, man, he's gonna feel like poo-poo by the time he's done. Because I'm feeling pretty rough. Like when I get to the gym, like I'm dependent on stems to get me through my workouts at this point.
Gotcha. Now you said 6 weeks
4.
out. Is that right?
4 weeks out,
So you're like right there.
Yeah, it'll be
you're
4
like
weeks
right
from Sunday.
there.
So my wife's is 4 weeks from tomorrow, and I've got 4 weeks and 4.5 weeks, 4 weeks and 3 days.
Yeah.
And we're my coach. We can go back to bodybuilding talk for a second if you want to.
Sure, absolutely.
What I'm doing now is, and in the off season, I was eating a lot of food. Like I was,
right.
My regular carb, like my off days, I'd have a couple 100 grams of carbs. Just mainly eat protein and veg. And then for my training days, for 3 or 4 of those days, my normal intake was about 700 grams of carbohydrate, and then I'd have 1 or 2 days when I'd go up to 11 or 1,200 grams. And so that was my starting point. And now today's a low day, and it'll be between 150 and 200 because I didn't train today. I'm not having any high. Well, I had a high day on Tuesday, but my high day was 500. And I had 300 yesterday, and then tomorrow I'm going down to 250 for Friday and Saturday. Then my coach is looking at me on Sunday. Sunday will be a low day, about 150. But when we pull me down at the end, like you've seen my pictures, I'm getting a lot leaner every week. I mean, I'm waking up a little bit leaner every day. Lower back and glutes are cleaning up. But
if you had to guesstimate, where are you at? Like 7%, 6%,
probably around 6. Yeah, because I've got striations everywhere. I'm Did I take any pictures this morning? I can't remember if I took any this morning. I mean, this was just yesterday morning out of bed. I don't know how much you can see there.
There we go. Yeah, you can
but
see.
I'm getting pretty close.
Yeah.
I'm waking up at around 230 pounds, and so I've got about 3 or 4 more pounds to lose. Because when I get where I need to be, I'll weigh in the evening, dried out and everything, about 230-ish.
Wow.
So I've still got a little bit more to peel off, but we've got me at 12,500 steps, like I said, tomorrow and Friday coming down to 250 grams of carbs, and having to use some more vegetables now to fill the meals out. Like I'm taking the rice amounts down and throwing some rice cauliflower in there to kind of
just to like
bulk it
get that.
out.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
But this is the point where, and like I told you, I don't, I never have a problem sticking to the diet. I don't have food noise.
Right.
I have cravings, but I'm just like,
But you could shrug them off. Yeah,
exactly.
you could-
Because my rationale is I've got to stand on stage next to people who have way better genetics than I do, and my only prayer is to be in shape. So that's a
Yeah.
pretty good motivator.
Yeah.
But knowing that Retta has blunted my appetite a little bit, I'm not going to lie and say it doesn't make it easier, because it does.
Oh, sure.
But
Sure.
I wouldn't cheat on my diet anyway. You put a gun in my mouth, I'm not.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. It's
no.
it's interesting like how it works with different people and with the different stimulus. Like in my case, now the dose I'm taking is very low.
Yeah.
I've only taken 0.5 milligrams twice this week.
Yeah,
That's
that's it. Like
super light.
Tuesday or Sunday and Thursday for me. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Sunday, Thursday. So we'll see. I might bump it up because in my case, I know the food noise is a factor. Because I tend to. I'm one of those guys. If you want me to bulk, you know how some people have problems putting down food. I'd never have. I guarantee you that I'd never.
That's
have a
why I
problem
said I
putting
can't
down.
see how I would possibly use this in the off season, because
Yeah.
for me to eat what I need to eat, I can't have any gastric emptying.
Oh yeah,
So-
no.
But
no.
I'll tell you this: I did start a friend. So I've got a friend up in Northern Virginia. His name's Kelly Kirk, and several years ago, his girlfriend passed away, and he started a nonprofit in her honor for mental health. And she didn't die of anything mental health related. It's just she helped him through a lot. He wanted to do something to honor her. She
Gotcha.
died of a heart attack, and had never had
Oh,
any
wow.
issues. The autopsy showed nothing. Sometimes people just die.
Yeah.
So the moral of the story there is hug and kiss the people you love. They might not be there tomorrow. But he did he just won his pro card at Masters Nationals, and it's a really wonderful story because she got him back into competing, and like one of the last conversations they had before she passed away, like he had dinner with he does a lot of stuff up in Virginia with helping promoters with shows and stuff, and he had dinner with some judges, and they were like, yeah, you need to keep going after this because you can probably get your Masters pro card. And he told her, he's like, I'm back. And one of the last things she said to him before she passed away was, you do whatever you need to do to accomplish this. I am with you. I'm behind you. And so after she died, he was like, my mission in life was to get my pro card. And it was not about a pro card. It was about
It's honoring her
something.
memory.
And it was
Yeah.
about finishing something that they began together. And I think that's just, like with my wife and I, the goal is for her to get her pro card. That may be the last show she ever does. It may be the last time I compete because we want to do this together. But she got me to mine. I want to get her to hers.
Yeah.
But anyway, I said all that to say this. He was talking about a supplement he was using. And if anyone wants a good advanced nootropic, it's by a company called Advanced Molecular Labs, and it's called Dopa Rush.
Uh-huh.
This
Okay.
stuff is fantastic. I take it in the morning. It's got caffeine anhydrous in it. So I'll take that, and then I'll have my ephedrine and aspirin and yohimbine. I use that as the caffeine portion of my stack. But the
Right.
nootropics in it, it just gives you extended energy. And this has been, this stuff has helped get me through, my first, it gets me to that 2 or 3 o'clock where I go, ugh.
Yeah.
And
That's one thing I noticed when I pulled calories because I immediately, as soon as I made the decision, I've been eating actually at a high surplus because the last week I actually, knowing that what I was about to do, I was like, let me relax into it so that I have that big hurrah.
make sure you get
And,
everything out of your system, because once you start,
Absolutely.
you started. Yeah.
Because what I did was my average there was 3,200 where I could maintain weight,
Yeah.
Plus or minus a pound here and there.
Sure.
So I pulled down to 22 now because I want to drop.
A pretty big deficit.
Yeah. Well, it's at the target being 2 pounds a week, right?
Yeah, you
With-
can do that
with a
and not
little-
have to increase your
yeah.
activity a whole lot.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't have to increase my activity. And I still know that if I want to play around a little bit with the social aspect, I've created a buffer there where
Good.
like if I have an extra 500 calories here or there, I'm still 6,000 under, you
Sure.
know. So that's the logic. But anyway, I've been talking to like everybody about it, trying to like gather more info. Paul mentioned that he might be able to help a little bit. He's got some
Okay.
some thoughts and ideas.
Yeah,
So
dude,
for
he's
me
just
and
he's
Chandler,
I've got a membership on his app, that school app, and
yeah, yeah,
I've not been on there as much as I was last year. I'm just so busy with work, but I listen to his stuff every week, and we talked. We both contributed to that thread on PM where people are like,
yeah,
"Is he a grumpy old man?" I don't know, dude. I mean, some days I want to pull black socks up to my knees and scream at kids and tell them to get off my lawn. So maybe I
yeah,
don't know.
for sure.
But all I know is I continue to enjoy and benefit from his information. He's always been very kind and giving to me.
Yep.
I'll never say a bad word about him. I think he's good people.
And like I put in that thread, look, all I know is the person I've met and
Exactly.
I've shared time with,
Yeah.
and that person has been extremely generous with their
Yeah.
time, very much a mentor,
Yeah.
and I can say nothing but good things
Well, and
because
people are
it's
gonna
somebody like that.
if you have someone, whether it's Paul or Chase or Todd or anyone that has any kind of a large online presence, you can find people to say, well, I don't like him because of this or I don't like him because of
Sure.
that. At the end of the day, I use this word loosely because I don't judge people, but I'm gonna make my
Right.
judgments based
Yeah,
on how
yeah.
they interact. And Paul, Todd, when I did the couple of times I've interacted with Chase, they've all been just like super good dudes to me. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely. I'm. I remember putting down in that PM thread something along the lines of like, you have to like really try hard for me to not like you. Like
oh
you have
yeah.
to actively try something really, really bad
Yeah,
for me to be
I
like,
really
bro.
I give people the benefit of the doubt, and
Yeah.
I try to take folks for what they are and what their intent is, because
Yeah.
sometimes, especially whether it's online or you're making a post, especially if it's just the written word when you can't hear the
Yeah.
person speak,
Yeah. No context like
tone
that.
and
Yeah.
context just don't come through.
Yeah.
So, in this world where like when Hulk Hogan died and people are, oh, he's a racist and blah blah blah. If
Yeah.
you
It's
talk
like,
to all the black folks that ever worked with him in the business,
mhm.
I mean, even Booker T was like, you know what? He's like, the man could have gotten me fired from WCW if he wanted to. He never did.
Yeah.
And my whole response is judge a person by the way they live their life. And if you can't do that, then just remember that if every one of us had every one of our most private, intimate conversations recorded and broadcast to the world, every one of us has said something,
Oh yeah.
more
We've
than
all
one
at some point
something
messed up
that
or
would
said
get us
something
canceled.
terrible.
And
For
people are
sure. For
so
sure.
quick to judge, and they're just like Joey Swole, like the whole thing
Yeah.
with him.
Yeah. I just
Like
found
when
out
he
about that today.
when he
Yeah.
apologized, I was like, dude, do not bend the knee to these people because it's never enough for them.
No,
Like
once they throw blood
if
in the
you give
water,
them
it's
an
on.
inch, exactly. You're chumming the
Yeah.
water. You give them an inch, they take a mile. He tried to make what he thought was a good, appropriate apology, and
Right.
in their view, he stepped on his dick there too, and now he's getting dude. If I was him and I had his following, every post that I made for the next month, I'd be wearing red and yellow. I'd put the mustache on. I'd be calling everybody brother. And buddy,
That's right.
if you don't like me, take a hike. If you don't
Yeah.
like Scott Steiner used to say, if you don't like me, bite me,
Yeah.
because dude, bro,
Yeah.
if your name ain't on the check that gets struck to pay my mortgage every month, you don't get a vote.
Yeah.
So,
That's
but
fair.
yeah, but anyway, back to what you said.
Yeah.
Paul's a fantastic resource. Like, and I bounced a lot
Absolutely.
of things off of him during the off season.
Mm-hmm.
He's worked with Justin Harris forever, and he's learned a ton from Justin.
Yeah.
And hey, if
And he
there's-
gives them props, by the way. I've heard some people say that he doesn't. And I'm like, I don't know where you're
that he
saying that
constantly
because
credits
they work
Justin
together
Harris.
all the time and they go on stuff
He
together.
constantly credits Justin Harris
Yeah.
with everything he's done and with all the stuff he's learned, and he credits Justin Harris and he credits Dante, and he talks
Yep.
about the people in his past, just like You know, I'm going to talk about Justin and Paul and Dante and John Meadows and all the people that have been all the way up to my current coach, Kevin DeHaven. These are all people that I've taken from and learned from, and they've invested in me and poured into me and gotten me further than I could have gotten on my own, because we don't know this stuff. You learn by doing, you learn by trying. Now, when you have someone that can guide you and help you keep from making mistakes, you make faster progress. But
For sure. I mean,
anyway,
and there's so many voices out there that, you know, it's funny. I guess as humans, we just become tribal. Like this guy, don't like that guy, or whatever. But ultimately, if somebody is out there genuinely trying to help, to educate, to share, man, it's gonna be hard for me to be like, you know,
it's just like in
I don't want to deal with
politics.
that.
We've become so tribal and so divided in politics
Yeah.
that if you're on the left and you see somebody wearing a hat, well, they must be the devil. And if you're on the right and see somebody on the left that is in favor of more social programs, they must be the devil. No, it's just like everything. The truth and the reality is somewhere in the middle. Now, there are certain things that I do think are evil. Women in men's spaces, killing unborn babies. You'll never convince me that's not evil. But at the same time, I have friends who have beliefs that I do not share, but they're still my friends. At the end of the day, I believe that most people are good. Most people want good. Most people want to do good. We just disagree on how to get there.
I'm 100% on board with that.
Who's to say, like, yes, I am a straight Christian. You know, if you know me, I love my wife, I love Jesus, I love my dogs, and I love to lift weights. And if you know those things about me, that's all you got to know. But who's to say if I were raised in another part of the world, my views would be completely different.
Yeah,
just like Bill Maher said, today's generation likes to look at history and look at them and say, well, what would I do if I lived 300 years ago and you're always right? Well, maybe you wouldn't have been. Maybe you would have been an activist.
That's right.
Maybe you would have been in Alabama throwing racial slurs at that little black girl when she was the first one to go to school.
Yeah, you never know.
School. You don't
Until
know.
You're there, you never know.
Exactly.
You never know.
So
you never
I think
know.
you have to extend grace to people. I think now, you know, if you beat my mother up and you insult my wife and you're pouring sugar in my gas tank, we're going to have an issue. But when it comes to differing opinions and things, good Lord, people, life is too short and life is too long. To behave that way.
Paradoxically correct on both.
It really is.
That's true.
I mean,
with that, I think with that I'm gonna wrap it up because I'm hungry too.
I'm ready.
But I love that we ended up on that note, and the note is, people, be kind to each other.
Yeah, I feel like Jerry Springer, be good to each other.
Yeah, for real. Like, we got one life. You don't know, like you said a minute ago, you don't know tomorrow if you're going to wake up or that person you love is going to wake up.
Nope.
Enjoy it every day.
I know this. My mother
Carpe
said
the shit out of the DM.
Exactly. My mother always said to me, she said, Larry, it takes just as much energy to be nice to someone as it does to be nasty. Never forget that.
Yeah.
And then my dad, I think he took this from Zig Ziglar. He said, people may not remember a thing that you said, but they will never forget the way you make them feel.
100%.
And
that is 100% true.
If folks would live with that in front of mind, I think the world would be better. Even with differing opinions, the world would be better top to bottom.
Yeah.
And that's all I got.
I mean, and the different opinions, hey, that's the spice of life.
It
too.
is.
How boring would it be if we all thought the same shit?
Yeah, man.
That'd be boring as hell.
Yeah, I don't want a world of hegemony. No.
Yeah, I don't want to be bees in a freaking hive. You know,
No.
We're like literally clones of each other. No,
now, if I were a bee in a hive, my queen's downstairs, and I'm happy with her. But but no, you're
fair.
absolutely right, man. I think just be nice to each other, folks.
Yeah. If anyone watching this show and like, subscribe, hit the button, hit the bell, the
Tell
good
a
things.
friend.
But I will say this: if you get nothing else from this show, we're just 2.5 meatheads, just having fun and trying to get people to understand. Just be cool to each other, man. Let's make it positive. Let's make it good. Let's make life good.
There's enough good to go around. Spread a little bit.
That's it. Larry, as always, a pleasure to have you.
Good night, sir.
All right. And we'll do it again soon.
Yep.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Glad you joined us.